If you're looking for Magic cards, look no further than Flipside Gaming. They have all the latest Magic singles and product that you need to actually leave the house and battle in Magic the Gathering. And right now, if you would like to save 10% on your orders from Flipside Gaming, use the promo code CGB at checkout. That is promo code CGB. Okay, welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB. It's time to play our next round of the tournament. We are playing against Turbo Fog. So, not looking forward to very much about this, but I'll give it a try. Game one's going to be a total wash. There's not many ways we can win unless we get a Niv or somehow have a Teferi go unmolested while our opponent doesn't find a Teferi, so not a lot to be done, but it's Turbo Fog. After boarding, we become Turbo Niv Mizzet, which can be a bit more annoying. Turbo Fog can become Turbo Monsters with Carnage, Tyrant, and Nezahal. That's a bit more of a chess match. Game one, this is going to be a bit of a laugher. All right. Now we'll just find out how slow is the Turbo Fog player on top of being aggravating. Let's chart a course. There's plenty of cards that we don't need, and the one that we need the least here is Dive Down. Shock can still both go to face, unlikely, but go to Teferi, pretty likely. And finding Niv there is really good. Also, our one of Spell Pierce might turn crucial. And here comes Search for Iskanta. The Spell Pierce, we really want to tag a Teferi. I don't know if we'll get the opportunity to, but that's the main priority. And right away, a Nexus shuffled back in. It doesn't make progress on the graveyard that way, but still, would have preferred they had to draw it. It's going to be tough if there's a Gift of Paradise here in the spot. Let's see if it's there. If it is, okay. So this is really bad, because I would love to Spell Pierce a Teferi, but I'd also love to resolve a Crackling Drake. So it's a rough position. I think it's worth... It's so tough because this is the only play I have. It's the only thing that can counter anything. And if I let this resolve and then play my Drake, the opponent could play a Teferi next turn anyway. Let's see, how many spells do we have? We already have 3 in the graveyard. This can be 4. This can be 5. I think that means I could counter a Teferi. I could counter a Fog if the opponent goes for a Teferi here. And then the Crackling Drake would do what it needs to do. Clarion's a bit weak. And we want to get that in the graveyard somehow. That's the priority. Chemister's Insight hits the bin. Is it Teferi time? How good is the hand? Oh god, do we not know how to use Gift of Paradise? We just tapped it for 1 mana. Okay, okay, it doesn't matter probably because it's all for playing another gift in a chart. Yeah, but that was 3 mana instead of... Oh, okay. What can you say? But it's not Teferi yet. Alright, well, this turn I'm going to play this for the lifelink because it has no other purpose in life. I can also shock my opponent, but I'd rather hold on to that because that may have to work with Niv. And there's a long way for the Drake to go. A long way. Our opponent does have a Cleansing Nova. Just 1. Could be an epic blowout if we go for the Niv next turn and they have it. But I don't know what choice we have. We have to throw a lot of Hail Marys in this game. Okay then, Spell Pierce is getting worse and worse and worse by every Gift of Paradise. Alright. Let's go get him. And let's see if they find a Cleansing Nova. One in the whole deck. I have a feeling we'll see this Chemister's Insight before Niv resolves. And we do. And how's the flip looking? Still 4. We're on 4. Still a bit of work to do. Root Snare to the graveyard, okay. Moment of Truth. That's not a Cleansing Nova.
Good choice.
You can have your Pain Land. Go ahead, pay 2 life. Haha. Or play it tapped. Alright, card off the top. Take that, Karn.
My retribution.
We're going to make absolutely sure that Karn dies. So, let's check the settle count. Known deck lists are always interesting, so there are no settles. I definitely want to see my opponent play a spell to protect Karn before I take Karn out. So, let's see what happens when we attack. And there is a fog, so that will trigger the Niv. We're definitely going to kill the Karn.
Please do not do that.
I'll do what I want. Let's see here. So no damage. Now we can opt. Keep picking on Karn until it's dead.
Best if you stop.
Lava Coil is not helpful. It's another card and another trigger, but I think I have to go deeper than that.
We should discuss our differences.
All right, let's do a shock to pick Karn off. And that's a lot of land.
Your efforts are futile.
And we'll play you and say go. Too many lands is scary. And right away, there goes Iskanta. And finds another Iskanta. Okay, the man left is passing back to me. Think on end step we'll go ahead and, well, shock could still be used in a lot of ways. I'm going to hang on to it. There's what we need. That is what we need. All right. I think I attacked to take the 2-card draw, but it doesn't really matter. Discarding these lands is not a cost. We've got so many, I may as well do it first. It might change something about the attack. Oh, there's what we need. And another shock. Okay. Keep firing away, without question. As long as we can chain that, the better. The longer, the better. It's a lot more land again, but you gotta get through it. And there's a scoop that they don't want to see anymore. I think I still had a lot of work to do to get there, but the Niv tilt was real. So let's get into the sideboard, where I think I improved my matchup quite a bit. My opponent has, they bring in another Cleansing Nova. That's a problem. They also bring in 4 negates, Then there are 2 Carnage Tyrants, a Nezahal the Primal Tide, probably a Settle the Wreckage, maybe not though, and 2 Ixalan's Bindings. So, let's work on our deck. We want pretty much the whole sideboard, like the whole thing. Firemind's Research is interesting. I think it's better than his Kanta for this, because it can reach out and kill things. We want all the Sarkans to go Pure Turbo Niv. We want the Ixalan's bindings, of course. A Settle the Wreckage is a good hedge, and yeah, we basically want the whole sideboard. So what can come out? What can we cut? That's now the big questions. So negates come on down here, Firemind's Research over here, Sarkin over here, Binding right here, Settle right here, and then Explosion is kind of a big finisher, although it can be used like to copy negate early. So we definitely do not need Deafening Clarion. Deafening Clarion can hit the board for sure. Beacon Bolt as well, Lava Coil as well. Our opponent doesn't use targeted removal in any way, so Dive Down is not a real card. And Shock can be trimmed. I think still running a few is smart, as they can reach out and damage those Karns and damage those Teferis, but I don't want to flood on them. One Settle is still the safety valve against those big monsters if those start going, although I don't know if that's necessarily what we want. It's hard to say who's the beatdown. I also think that Search for Iskanta is particularly slow, because at this point, the Drakes are still important. We do need to keep our opponent fogging every turn. They can't just counter our things. Chart, of course, gets considerably worse after board, but we still have to hit our land drops, and that's sort of what it's there for. But Search does get painfully slow against Turbo Fog, plus tapping out to even use the Iskanta is very dangerous. Or you might be Nexus of Fated. And maybe I don't want the Firemind's Research too, since I want to put a creature on the board. Yeah, I think these are all a bit too slow against Fog, because I'm still really the beatdown. I can't hope to contain it forever. I have to actually make my way into killing it. Niv is the best way to do that. So this is the strategy I think I like the most. It's really awkward having a Settle the Wreckage instead of a fourth Shock, whereas Shock is probably more useful, but the opponent bringing in the monsters, I think I need an out. So, all right, let's roll. All right, we've got Spell Pierce and Chart, of course. 2 Crackling Drakes and a Niv. We'll need to draw more lands and ways to get there. Our opponent takes a mulligan, but I'm keeping. And hoping for the best. I wonder how the opponent boards their fogs. That's what I'm most curious about. I'm sure usually the 4 negates come in to replace the fogs in matchups like Jeskai where it doesn't matter. But in this matchup, they still have to worry about the Drakes. Our opponent keeps on 5. All right. I mean, you take what you can get. It's not ideal, that's for sure, for them. But Turbo Fog's a really tough deck to compete with. I can't apologize for doing my best. Now, do we hold up Spell Pierce here? I don't think so. I think we chart this course. And we need all that land. I think what we don't need is another Crackling Drake. I think that 1 should be enough. As long as we can have 1 on the battlefield, we should be happy. Now this is a spot where the opponent's deck, if it gets full of like Carnage Tyrant in that, can get clunky. But if there's a gift here, they're right on, yeah, they're right on track. They're doing it. All right, another Teferi off the top. Let's fire the chart, of course. Let's see, we have 3 red, 2 blue, and 2 Nivs, and 2 Teferis. So what do we need? Pretty tough. Which I think makes the Drake the worst card, but the weird thing is I have to take a turn off then. And I like keeping that pressure applied. Teferi can bin just about anything and win that Teferi war, but Niv is the real game plan, so I can't believe it. Is this a message or what? You send a message. Our opponent's on 2 cards, a Search for Iskanta, binning Root Snare, so they kept in Root Snare. All right. Here comes something. And I think I'll just cut that off. I think we'll just slow that gift down like I should have done in the first game. Okay, that is the land we needed. So now we have Drake into Hero into Niv to get the pressure really cooking. Our opponent does get another Nova. I don't know if they bring in their Settle the Wreckages. But with 2 Novas now, I have to keep a backup Niv ready to go. And they pass the turn. Negate? Feels like negate. Let's see what happens with an attack. We don't know that they boarded negate in, but I do know I don't have to run my Teferi into it. So I'm going to play around it. Niv makes opportunities. Niv is uncounterable, and then other spells usually become harder to counter because the opponent has to spend mana dealing with Niv. So for example, tap out Cleansing Nova away the Niv, Teferi comes down, easy peasy. 3 cards in graveyard right now for the search for his Kanta count, and this card has been kept on top. It is not a land, it is another Gift of Paradise. Our opponent has drawn 5 Gift of Paradises across these 2 games so far. It's not that weird. They do kind of draw out their deck. All right, so the play is Niv, therefore I'm not going to grow the Drake any further, so let's attack first, not give info away. There we go. And to the battlefield, big man. Dragon Man. Carry me on your mighty wings. I think there's a reasonable chance of either Nova or Teferi coming down to minus on the Niv, but then the Crackling Drake can take out the Teferi, so that's why it's good to have a wingman. There's Ixalan's Binding, okay. That is obnoxious. But here comes Teferi playing around a negate.
Let's slow this. Let's take it back.
Let's do that. Let's take it back. And I think I still hang on to my Shock because there's still a chance the opponent plays out a Teferi. If they minus it to deal with Niv, though, the Drake can kill it, but so can a Shock trigger, so I may as well hold it. And the opponent will most certainly bin to try to get back to Ixalan's Binding. I need to get to a negate. Of course, Teferi ticking up can also get into a range where it can deal with Binding again if given the time. I just don't know if I'll get that time. Here's a Teferi of my opponent's own. Let's see what they do with it.
Right on schedule.
Going up, okay.
Let's skip to the good part.
All right, before that goes, let's Shock away on Teferi here, and let's deal some points.
You want me to phase you out of time?
You want me to phase you out of time? Again, I'll have a look. He's at 2. So there. Hit him. And we don't need that land. We need more gas. Negate would be perfect. I mean, we're seeing so many cards, I keep thinking we'll get it.
Time for don't make another move.
But of course, Magic doesn't always work that way. Alright, let's see how much damage we can do. Our opponent showed that they kept fogs, and they binned them early, which implies they have a fog. But it could have also been a sign of the times. They were on a mold of 5, trying to fill up for his Kanta, and we got it. We got the negate. Okay, then. Let's fire up first. Let's see how many spells we can get into the graveyard to hit as hard as possible. We may be able to end the game here with the right mix of everything. And there is an expansion to copy a negate. That should be lethal. All right, one more Niv can hit the yard. Down to 9, just 9 life. Let's move into combat. Here's the root snare. Here's the Niv trigger. We'll tap for that red mana and make sure we leave all of our blue mana available. And that's the scoop. It was a beating. It was a beating, but you can't show Turbo Fog mercy. You just can't do it. You just can't do it, my friends. Well, all right. Another round in the books. I believe that takes me to 4-1, and still making a play on top 8. Our only loss being round 1 to Noxious. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. My YouTube channel is proudly supported by HauntedFlower.com, shipping officially licensed apparel anywhere in the world, and now featuring Magic the Gathering apparel and accessories. If you use the promo code CGB at your checkout, you can save 10% on any order. That's the promo code CGB at checkout on HauntedFlower.com. That's HauntedFlower.com.